Hello, hi, and welcome to EmpathicFire. I am your reader, Jay. These are going to be general messages for the sign of Virgo in the month of December 2018. Hello, Virgo. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope everything in your life is going swimmingly. Let's see. Right off the bat, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays. Pick your greeting and apply it. I don't know what you're celebrating this holiday season, but I hope it's a good one. I hope you have fun. I hope you're surrounded by people that you love and you care about most, and they're showering you with love and affection and all that good stuff. I hope everybody has a good time out there. Even if you're, not necessarily in the spirit of the season and you're kind of on your Grinch mode, that's totally okay. I totally get it. Yeah. So that's your main spread there, Virgo, as you see there. Shuffled off camera to sort of save time. I'll shuffle now for your outcome and your overall energy. Once all the cards are out and they're lying face up, that's when the reading begins. There will be a timestamp in the box below for when that actually is, and you can go ahead and click it or move the little timer bar across the way. If you choose to jump ahead, I totally respect that. Also down there is information on how to get personal readings with me if you are ever so inclined. Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah, let's get it. Outcome for Virgo, December 2018, please. Now, it didn't fall, and it's not facing up. So let's see what they want me to do. Yes? No? No, okay. Ooh, and I don't even know if that was reversed or not. I hate putting reverses in my deck. I don't like that. So I might have to go back and look. Ooh. Outcome, Virgo, December 2018, please. Outcome for Virgo. There we go. Bottom of the deck is the overall energy. I love these cards, but they are they're not even that big. It's really, my table is small. And you have a triplet. Anyway, let's go ahead and flip your one card that came face down. Oh boy. What? Okay. Oh, never mind. I thought that was the Queen of Pentacles over there. Okay. Please show me Virgo in December 2018. Where's Virgo in December 2018? Please show me Virgo. Thank you. All right, Virgo, coming in to December 2018, you come in as the Tower card. Fun times. Little sarcasm there if you're familiar with tarot, because that joke is for people who are familiar with tarot. Tower is one of those cards that people get their, underwear or their knickers in a twist over. And I feel that there's some of that energy here for you, Virgo. I think you don't necessarily want to have this right now. This is you've already got a lot on your plate, and then this ugly piece of work is coming along. And not the woman on the card, or not necessarily a person, but just this energy of the Tower. And the Tower card, for those who are not familiar with tarot, is usually indicative of some type of sudden change, some type of sudden shift in your circumstances, in certain dynamics in your life that are not necessarily welcome and feel very destructive, feel very harsh, but are ultimately necessary. So in the long run, these swift changes are going to benefit you in some form or fashion. And if I'm honest, Virgo, you just don't have time for that. I feel that your energy is very consumed. It's very busy. It's very much, I've got a list a mile long of stuff I gotta do, things I have to handle, problems I have to resolve, and here comes this crap. So it's uninvited. Now, I'm also getting the sense that in some ways you're tied to this because of how busy you are. Maybe, okay, thank you. It's sort of like a juggling act or a spinning plates kind of situation. If you've ever seen that stunt, or is it a stunt? What do you call it? Like a performance, an act, where people spin plates on long poles or long sticks, and at any moment those plates can come crashing down. Or even if you think of like trying to yank a tablecloth off of a table that's like full of glassware and plates and silverware and all that kind of stuff, whatever you're doing, because you're so busy or because of how delicate the situations are that you're involved in, there is this sort of danger about it. So some of you might be for not taking on more than you need to, but certainly you're overextending yourself. Some of you might be physically overextending yourself. You might have physical pains in your body. You might be, and this is not necessarily associated with the traditional understanding of the tarot card, but this is just what I'm feeling. Some of you might be like your body is physically in distress because you're not sleeping enough, you're not eating enough, or the work that you do is very physical, so your body is just not used to having to lift as much at the job or stand for as long at the job, or your eyes are strained because you're staring at the computer instead of like staring at it for 5 or 6 hours a day. You've been like, banking the overtime, and you've been sitting at your desk for like 12 hours straight. I mean, God forbid you're doing that. If anybody did that, that would be ridiculous. Don't do that. But you see what I mean? So I feel that, not that you're to blame, but I think because of what you're doing, because of the plans that you have, because of your responsibilities, it just makes this tower moment all the more imminent, all the more possible, because perhaps you need it. Perhaps you need this wake-up call. I'm sitting here telling you, relax, take a break, reduce the amount of work you're doing, or reduce, your to-do list, delegate some of those items there. But I feel your energy is very focused on, if I get it done, it'll just be done, and it'll be done the way that I like it. And I'm under pressure at my job. There are deadlines coming up, and nobody else is going to pick up the slack around here, so I have to do it. So it's this I have to do it energy. You feel kind of compelled to take ownership in something, or to see that something gets accomplished or finished, or scratched off the list. And that's noble. That's sort of one of your strong points, Virgo. But I'm feeling like you're in like this overkill mode where you're doing that perhaps too much. And the tower moment could basically be like a wake-up call, like a slap straight across the face, like, snap out of it, stop doing that. So it could be, for some of you, I don't know what form the tower might take for you. And for a few of you out there, this may have already happened. This might be just residual energy, and you're kind of living in the after effects. But there just might be something where your boss comes to you and like orders you to go home, or your boss comes to you and, somehow takes away that work that you've already worked on. Like something comes along and makes it so you can't continue to burn yourself out. And for some of you, it is painful. Like it hurts your ego, or like I said earlier, for some of you, it's like hurting your body. So if you have a physical job, maybe you pull your back out, or, God forbid, you slip a disc, or you have a hernia, or you have a slip and fall, or something like that. And I'm not saying that's, it's one of those weird things where it seems unfortunate. It seems like a big accident, but the universe is crazy that way. And the Tower card is crazy that way, where it's extreme measures to get a good result. If you, in your good sense, which you are usually a very sensible sign, Virgo, if you in your good sense didn't slow down, the universe had to stop you. Like, maybe there was a little voice in your head that said, you know what, I should really take a day off. I should really, get my cousin to help me work with this project around the house. I should really reach out to so-and-so because they know a little bit about this, but I don't want to bother them and I don't want to wait for them. So let me just go ahead and do it. Like, you, in some cases, talked yourself out of reducing the amount of work you were doing, or the stress, or the laundry list of things that you had to get done. And so the universe was like, you should have listened to your better judgment. Now I'm going to give you a hernia, so now you get to sit the hell down. Okay? And I'm taking that tone as like, Virgo, sometimes you you need to listen to, you need to better listen to your instincts. You need to better listen to when you know you need to do something and it'll be better for you in the long run. I think a lot of times, Virgo, or ironically, you're so focused on the future that you neglect to look at your present. Does that make sense? So if your long run is to have a certain amount of money saved, okay, I want this amount of money in my bank account by this time next year. Therefore, I need to start working this amount of hours, and I need to take on this many side jobs and this many side projects, and I need to get my hustle game on and all that kind of stuff. So you start to do that. You start to drive on the side. You start, selling things on eBay, if people still do that. I don't know. Wherever. And you start doing all these projects, and it's just a lot to handle. So the universe is like, your goal is nice. Like, yeah, it's nice to want to have that, but the way you're going about it here and now, in the present, in the short term, this is not feasible. I need you to calm down. So the Tower energy for you, Virgo, like I said, is sort of this wake-up call. And I don't want to make, especially for those where this is going to involve physical pain, and I feel that straight up. Some of you are going to go through something that is physically exhausting or physically, shocking. Some of you might break a limb, there might be some accident and you fall, something like that. I don't feel that it's dire. I don't feel that it's, life-altering, but I do feel it's, going to, leave you, sort of, at home for a couple of days on bed rest. You see what I mean? And I don't want to make it I don't want to make it like I'm patronizing to you, but I feel I'm kind of carrying the energy or the message from the universe, from God, from angels, whatever. And I don't normally talk in those ways because I don't want it to be like that, but I feel like this is what you need. You need to slow down. You need to calm down. You need to take a break. And Virgo, like I said, one of your greatest strengths is your diligence. You have an amazing work ethic, one of the best in the Zodiac, if not the best. I mean, Capricorn might give you a run for your money, but theirs is I don't want to talk about them in your reading. No hate to them, but you're kind of like apples and oranges in a way. Yeah, you're both pieces of fruit, but the way that you satisfy the palate is a little bit different. Okay, you can pick which one you'll be. Now, so what I'm feeling is, it's not that you need to constantly pull yourself back and constantly keep that go-getter energy in check. It's just right now it's too much for you. Right now it's too much, and the universe is going to pull you back in some form or fashion. And it's not for everybody. Not everybody's going to, break a leg or something like that, but many of you are going to be physically incapable of continuing to do what you're doing. I'm letting you know. Many of you will just and it doesn't have to be so bad, you're at home on bed rest, like I said. For some of you, it's just a hint of feeling too much. Maybe you just get a migraine really badly one day and you're like, oh, that's enough for me. I don't want to have a migraine for, the next week and a half. So I'm just going to take, a day off tomorrow. Just one day off. Some of you, it's going to be 3 or 4 days off of work. Some of you, it's going to be longer than that. But whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be physical pain for everybody. Some of you, it's just like I said, your boss comes and they tell you, go home. I've seen you in this office too often. It's a direct order. Get out of here. I need you to go home and relax. And it could be, you're taken off of a project. Some of you might have compassionate bosses or bosses that, kind of have an idea of how to run an office or run a business. And they might come to your office and be like, hey, Virgo, so I was looking at your reports and I was looking at over emails and I see that you're CC'd on a lot of stuff. And you're like, yeah. And you're just sitting there typing away. I am. And your boss is just like, so you're doing the Johnson project. Yes. You're working on this account. Yes. You're volunteering for this holiday festival that we're doing. Yes. And you're doing blah, 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 something else. And you say yes to all of that. And your boss is like, okay. I'm gonna have to step in here and be a friend to you, be kind to you, and tell you, you got to jump off of one of those things. I will delegate it for you to someone else. So again, not for all of you, but for others of you, it's going to be someone steps in and sort of takes the reins away from you, or takes one of the responsibilities or obligations that you have, and they take it away and they handle it themselves. And very, very few of you, very, very few of you will make this decision on your own. The majority of you, it's going to be out of your hands. The tower is usually out of your hands. It happens to you. You just get caught up in the middle of what the tower energy brings in. And like I said, I think this is sort of necessary. I get this exhausted, overwhelmed feeling from you, Virgo, and you're playing it off. I mean, I don't think you're handling. You don't think you're handling more than you need, more than you can. You think you're optimal. You think you're in your groove. I'm letting you know it's probably a tad too much, so you just need to take one or two things off, and then you'd be optimal. So, now. Yep, because you're replacing something, or you're augmenting something. Yep. Above you, you got the Five of Pentacles, and I said replacing because, I mean, look at the expression on this woman's face. She's very distressed. She's possibly crying, or she's embarrassed or something, and she's got one broken pentacle on the ground. And that is sort of along the lines of the traditional understanding of the Five of Pentacles. It is this feeling of being sort of at a loss, not necessarily experiencing a loss or experiencing a possession that's been damaged, but it is this feeling of, I don't have the resources necessary. I don't have everything I need to get whatever I want done. Therefore, I'm stressed. Therefore, I feel as if I'm doing all this work by myself. And in this card, a lot of that energy is there. Perhaps this woman, and not to say that you have to be a woman to resonate with this, but perhaps the person on this card is feeling like ooh, yes, of course. With the holidays coming up, right? In a few weeks' time. Or if you're celebrating Hanukkah right now. And maybe you have a lot on your plate as far as entertaining guests and taking care of family members that are coming in from out of town, and you had damage done to the house earlier this year that didn't get fixed in time, so you were like down a bedroom, and so certain people, certain cousins or nephews and nieces are going to have to bunk up in this part of the house or in this room, and then you're going to have to sleep on the pull-out sofa, and it's just like a lot. And so you feel your possessions are not up to par. You don't possess enough to take care of the people that you want to take care of. So normally everybody has a bed to themselves. They don't have to share any rooms. But now, you've got this huge gaping hole in the side of your house because of water damage or something like that. And now, grandma has to sleep next to your great aunt or something like that. And it's weird, or it's stressful for you for some reason. Others of you, it is about like some type of financial loss or feeling, again, that you don't have enough money. So again, holiday season, you might feel you don't have enough money to buy the gifts that you want to buy people. And that falls in line with your nature as well. A lot of this so far has been about what you are naturally inclined to do and what you need to sort of augment or reevaluate, given that our natures are not always in our best interests, okay? So, to put it another way, every quote-unquote positive characteristic about a person, in my estimation, can in certain lights be viewed as a negative and vice versa. Something that's negative in certain lights, in certain circumstances, can be viewed as a positive, can be viewed as being beneficial to a person, and not necessarily a detractor from who they are or how they get along in society. So, due diligence, having a wonderful work ethic, giving and caring and wanting to not shower people with gifts, but show people your level of appreciation through gifts and spending quality time. Those are all hallmarks of your zodiac sign, Virgo. And trust me, I know so many of you, so you're one of the signs I know the best, okay? And that's great. But it can also work against you, those qualities. If you have a certain work ethic, that can kind of make you a workhorse, or make you prioritize work over other things or other aspects of your life. Some of you are workaholics, okay? Like, you know you should quit that job, or you know you should take a weekend to yourself, but you don't. Because you, as much as you loathe or you complain about working, you still kind of don't know what to do with your idle time. So you go into work when you don't have to. You put in extra hours when you don't have to. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm getting here. It's like, in combination with the Tower, is there's this idea of constantly working towards something, like replenishing. Like you feel you have to replenish something, that you have to supply something, but it keeps getting taken away, or it's never enough. So you're trying to compile enough of something, or you're trying to fix something that, like I said earlier, was broken. And you just feel like it's this constant uphill battle to have enough, to have what you feel is sufficient. Perhaps a lot of you struggle with feeling satisfied, with feeling contented, and feeling that you can take a breath, relax, kick up your feet. I mean, I know Virgos like to relax. How you guys do it, I don't really know. I know you guys like to. I see it sometimes, but I don't think you're one of those signs that truly can unplug. Truly can just, like, put your hands behind your head, kick your feet up on the desk, and be like, I have no worries in the world. Like, there's always something in you that's like thinking about stuff that needs to get done, people that need to be taken care of. You're just always consumed with, what do I have to do next? You're eager in that way. And I don't fault you for it. I think, like I said, I think in general, what I've been describing are your beneficial characteristics, or characteristics that might be quote unquote more positive. But at this moment, and it could just be seasonal, because the holidays is a huge time for many of us. We have a lot of expectations. We have a lot of obligations with family and friends. Work can become hugely stressful if you're in customer service or retail, or if you work in like healthcare, all the like ER visits you get because of people like trying to hang Christmas lights on their roofs and things like that. So there is this sense that your ability to work hard and to support others and to obtain more and make sure that you're financially stable, that you're financially and materially secure, your tendency to latch onto that and perform well in those sectors might not be meshing well with the demands of the time period right now, of the time of year right now, okay? Yes, okay. So you've got the triplet there in the middle. And if you've been with my channel before, you know what that's all about. Because I'm pretty sure you've had a triplet before, Virgo. At this point, I think every sign has had at least one triplet. And the triplets usually show a separate storyline, or something that is parallel, happening like concurrently with the other four cards. And I feel like this is concurrent. I feel like that might be a little bit of a future energy, or what could transpire. So we're going to continue with the two on the outside, I think. Yeah, we're not going in there yet, are we? No, we're not going in there. Okay. So, interestingly, you've got these two cards here on either side in your base that are major arcanas. So, the positioning they want me to talk about, because, to go back, what is a major arcana? A major arcana is different than a minor arcana. Minor arcanas are your swords cards, your wands, your pentacles, your cups, and they are similar to, why am I explaining this whole thing? I hope you already know this, but I have to explain this for somebody. And the minor arcana sort of run similarly to a deck of cards. They run from an ace up to a king, right? Ace, 2, 3, and so on and so forth, right? And those are the minors. The majors represent overall themes, overall I suppose, areas or sectors of your life that could be affected depending on what card comes out. And they often, or 12 of them out of the 26, isn't it 26? Or did I just make that number up? I made that number up. That's not the right number. But anyway, there are certain cards that are aligned to certain zodiac signs. I don't know why I had to explain that, but somebody wanted clarification on what the hell I'm about to talk about, because what I'm about to talk about is more important. You have these two major arcanas, and the majors have, quote-unquote, like more influence or more impact because they are representing these major, more macroscopic themes in our lives, in our human experience. So the impact that you have is in your baseline. You have a major energy influence in your base, combined with the Tower and the Hierophant. Now the Hierophant represents Taurus, or is associated with Taurus, I should say. And more than the qualities of Taurus, what I'm being led to talk about here is this adherence, this idea of adherence and prescription and following the rules. The Hierophant is associated with all that, is associated with feelings of prescription or aspects of our lives being prescribed to us. Institutions and collectives that represent prescriptive methodologies and philosophies. So what does all that mean? Like schools, governments, religions, okay? In some cases, corporations, and definitely, like you can see here, that's an old-fashioned television set, right? So media would be prescriptive. As much as we, in some ways, might think media is free, media, in some ways, is unbiased. It actually is very biased, no matter what part of the spectrum you're standing on, how far left or how far right you go. Media is biased. Media has an agenda. Media has something within it that says, you viewer, you reader, you listener, this is what you need to believe. This is what you need to do in your life. So there's this prescriptive element to it. That's just with media. I mean, well, that's with everything that I mentioned that falls under the Hierophant. Religion, government, schools, like they all do it, right? And that's the part that I'm led to talk about, is like what is expected to be done. There's this expectation. This influence of expectation is very heavy right now for you in December, Virgo. So, and I'm getting your reading is very time sensitive, coming around the holidays. Some of you might have, okay, thank you. Some of you might be perhaps hosting for the first time for the holidays, or every time the holidays come up, you end up having to take on a certain amount of responsibilities, more than you ever expect or more than you're ever asked to. So it could be something as simple as normally your aunt or your cousin does most of the cooking for the family, but he or she, whoever is normally in charge, undoubtedly always forgets to buy something or can't make a certain dish at the last minute, so they call you and you run to the grocery store, you pick up the ingredients, you go to your house, you whip up these dishes, and then you bring them over, and you're now the lifesaver. And they're like, oh, thank you so much, Virgo, for doing that for me. I don't know where my head was. I forgot to buy this and I forgot to buy that. And you're like, yeah, you do this every year. Like in your mind, you're like, yeah, okay, sure. So I feel that you want to meet the expectations. If it's directly you, like all of it's on you from start to finish, the entire holiday, whether you put that responsibility on your own shoulders or not, you just feel you have to do the damn thing and you have to do it right. So you want to get the gifts. You want to make sure they're wrapped. You want to make sure that they're tucked up under the tree, before or after the kids go to bed. You want to make sure that the oven is preheated and the turkey is fully defrosted and all this stuff. It's like you're very, 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 very much invested in the outcome of what is expected of you, what is expected of the holiday, what is expected of the experience of sharing time and living in close quarters with your family that you only see a few times a year. Like, this, I feel, is just possibly a very high stress time for you, Virgo. And your go-to move when you are in high stress situations is to do what is expected of you. Do what is sort of the textbook play by play, you know? Now you feel now is not the time to deviate. Now is not the time to suddenly instead of let's meeting up at the family house back on the farm in Minnesota. Instead of doing that, let's all just spend Christmas in Australia, where it's summertime. Like, that idea to you is completely nuts. Why would we do that? It's a tradition. That's also what's a part of the Hierophant card. Tradition. It's a tradition that we all go home to the farm, or we all go back home to where we grew up, and we stay at mom's house, or we stay at grandpa's house, or whatever, and we just have a holiday together. Why are you trying to make us go all the way across to the other side of the world? This doesn't make sense. Da da da. Like, you are very much sticking to whatever traditions that you value, whatever traditions are expected out of your family. And for some of you, that's not who you are anymore. Truly, it's not. Or it intersects with, or it interrupts all the stuff you're doing over here that, is fulfilling your time. Not fulfilling your time, but filling your time and occupying your energy. So there's a lot, like I said, of this feeling of being influenced by sudden change or sort of adverse change, unwelcome change. Most change is unwelcomed by most people, regardless of the Tower card or not. And that energy being married with what is expected, what is predictable, what is reliable, or, like I said, traditional. These two things are they're not polar opposites, but they make it hard for you, is basically what I'm feeling. It's not easy. You don't want to burn yourself out. And many of you, like I said earlier about the Tower card, you feel that you're tired. You recognize that you are, but you push through anyway. And then on top of that, there's a certain set of expectations, certain hoops that you feel that you have to jump through over here that adds back to this feeling of being exhausted and feeling like it's never enough. So you can't catch a break in a lot of ways. But I'm going to be honest with you, Virgo. I feel a lot of that is internalized. A lot of that is because, going here, thank you, the Hierophant also has a hand in not ruling, but having influence over philosophical or moral beliefs, or just general ways that you conduct yourself while living in society, while living out your life. Your ideals, right? The Hierophant definitely influences that. And your ideals, Virgo, are being challenged because, like I said, some of you are adhering to and participating in things that you don't necessarily want to, but it's because you've been doing it for the past 30 years of your life, the past 10 years, the past 5 years, whatever. You just are expected to go home for Christmas. You're expected to cook the turkey or whatever it is. You're expected. Or some of you love that and you want it to be a good holiday. You're like, it was always a great holiday growing up. And you realize now what you're planning to do is gather your whole family back at the family house, back at the ranch or the farm or wherever. And you realize, oh, we're all adults now. We all have separate lives. It's not easy to get my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, etc. all gathered in one central place together because some people have moved away. So then you are maybe working really hard and trying to get your money up because you want your favorite cousin to be able to join you, the one that moved to Tampa, 6 years ago. And you're like, oh man, we haven't seen you for 6 years at Christmas. Come on, aren't you coming home this time? And they're like, oh, I can't afford it. And you're like, okay, I'll see what I can do. And so maybe you're working extra hard, saving extra money so that you can get your cousin to come because you want that tradition to be carried on and you want to see that, you know, family sat around the table or sat around the living room opening up gifts, and you just want everybody to have a good time. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. That's where I was going with this. You are putting a lot of pressure on yourself to make that special holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, I don't know what you're doing, friends Christmas, or if you don't have family of your own, your in-laws, whoever, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to make it a wonderful experience. And I'm not saying that it won't be. I'm just saying you are taking on a lot. And others around you might not have such a high expectation. Not to say like you should just give up your goal and you should be okay with what their standard is. You can have your standard, but what I think you need to realize is if you're worried about disappointing others, I think you should cut yourself a break. Or I think you should let people know that you are worried about them having a good time. And they will tell you, oh, we could be having, you know, freaking pudding pops for dinner. I don't care about the food. I care about the, you know, spending time with the family. Or they could be reversed. I don't care about spending time with family. I want a good present. I don't know what your family is into. I don't know who you want to see smiling on Christmas Day or opening up their presents throughout the 8 nights of Hanukkah, whatever. I don't know what you want to see in your vision, but whatever it is, if people don't know that's important to you, that you value it, or that you're wanting it to go off without a hitch, it might add to your stress. It might add to your level of exhaustion. So you might just want to share with them, you know, I'm really looking forward to this day. I don't want this to be a problem. So could you do this for me? Or could you just make sure I don't let this happen, or make sure that I remember to do this? Even if you don't want people to do stuff, it might be just have people remind you, don't forget to pick up the pies from the bakery. Because, you know, 2 years ago you forgot to get the pies and you really were upset about it, or something like that. You know, if you don't want people to actually help you along the way in whatever you're trying to do, Virgo, at least let them help you help yourself. Does that make sense? Above the Hierophant, you have the Queen of Swords, who doesn't come out very often when I use this deck. So let me show you her a little more. By the way, this is the Housewives Tarot deck, if you are interested in knowing that. And that's kind of what she's fitting sort of what I just said. I feel like the Queen of Swords normally is a boss, okay? She's a boss. She just is about her business. She's very sharp. She's very meticulous. She's very precise. And she takes no bullcrap. She takes no prisoners, basically. And I think that could be your tendency surrounding the holidays, or surrounding whatever. If this is not holiday and this just like applies to like work, or maybe even a relationship, whatever your goal is, whatever your focus is on, whatever the hell your work is specifically, but whatever you're working towards, you are working at it diligently and to some extent quite harshly. If you're dealing with other people in a work situation or even the family situation over the holidays, if other people have to play a part in your goal, they have roles to play, they have influence or some type of input, they better be on their A game. If they're not on their A game, they will suffer, because you will not suffer them. You know, if I have to suffer your dumb ass and you making these mistakes or you dropping the ball, you will then suffer my wrath, is kind of the energy that I'm getting from her. So as much as I feel over here you're a little stressed, you might have some anxiety, you might be feeling kind of sad or feeling disappointed that you don't have enough of your material possessions or enough money to do something. You might be having, I feel this energy over here is a little more tender, or a little sadder, a little more softer in a way. But over here, we've got this very strict adherence going on between these two cards, the Queen of Swords and the Hierophant card. And like I just said, the Queen of Swords is so meticulous. She's so sharp in what she wants to accomplish. And I'm saying she only because of the the fact that it's a queen, you could be a male Virgo and going through this. And so there's just this directness with the Queen of Swords. There's this, no, I'm not playing games. I told you once, I'm not going to tell you again. Like, that's how I feel. So if you are opening up and allowing people to help you, they better come with the A game. You don't want to be receiving help from somebody who's going to do a half-ass job. If you're going to step up and help me, if you say, you know, if your cousin calls you, oh, hey, cuz, what's up? And you're like, oh, I got this, this, and that to do. And they're like, oh, well, whatever you need, just give me a shout and I'll help you out. And you're like, you mean it? Because if I call you or if I text you and if you don't pick up, it's going to be a problem. And they're like, yeah, I got you. So you call, you text, you do whatever. You say, I need you to do this, 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 and this. And you're very clear in your communication. You use full words and full sentences when you compose the text message and you send it off. And then your cousin hits you back and is like, so when you say this, what do you mean? And you're like, oh my God, didn't I just tell you? I just said blah, 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 blah. And, you know, so that's the energy that she possesses. If we're going to do this thing, we're going to do it right. We're going to get it right the first time. There's no second tries here. There's no, you know, B- is not going to cut it here. It's A level work. It's A level commitment. It's A level effort that I expect from you if you're going to work alongside me. She does not want a partner. As you can see, she's got those garden shears. Is that what they're called? Garden shears? And she, we can presume that rose with the man's head on it is like her husband or her partner. And she is like ready to cut his stem if he doesn't, you know, bloom the right way. If he's not pretty enough. Now, that might sound sort of weird or sort of shallow, but that's how it is. If things aren't up to your expectations, Virgo, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. And again, I'm not feeling that this is a long-lasting energy. I feel that it's very much contained within the month of December and thereabouts, so even bubbling over into the new year after New Year celebrations. I think you have this feeling of you want things to go off perfectly, you want things to go off without a hitch. And not to say that that's not possible, it's just like, relax. You know, if you have, let's say, arbitrarily 5 things that you want to see happen during the holidays, or if you want to accomplish 5 things at your job, or there's 5 elements that you want to work on in your relationship, whatever area of your life this applies to. Let's say there are 5 distinct things that you want to see accomplished. Please don't get mad, or don't fly off the handle, or I would advise you not to get mad. I would advise you not to fly off on the handle. I would advise you to not be very disappointed if you only end up with 4 out of the 5. Even 3 out of the 5. If you end up with 2 out of the 5, maybe you could kick up some dust. But I think at least 3 out of the 5, especially if we're talking about dealing with other people in your office, in your family, in a relationship, if this is involving other people's energy, which I feel it is, come on. You gotta relax. People aren't perfect. Not even you. Some of you might, you know, think you're close to being perfect, but I'm gonna let you know you're not. And that's not to be insulting. It's not to be condescending. It's to be truthful to you. I think, Virgo, sometimes your ideal, what you envision, thank you, is the E word I wanted, not expectation, but what you envision is very much not unattainable, but it's like it's asking for the best. A lot of times you ask for the best. Not in a snobby way, not in a materialistic way, not in a way of, well, I'm a Virgo and I deserve the best. Of course I deserve. It's not like that. It's more of like because you see the way to get there, thank you. What you envision as the best, it is that because you know how to get it. You know how to make it happen. You know how to create that. So therefore, everybody should be able to envision the same thing. But that's not true. So, for example, if you envision this holiday spread, turkey, roasted potatoes, casseroles, pies, da-da-da-da-da, all of that stuff is homemade in your mind, in your vision of perfection. All of that stuff is made from scratch. It's homemade. Everybody, you know, not everybody, but there's just like this homey feeling involved in that holiday dinner spread in your mind. In reality, as I feel most families do the holidays these days, people bring side dishes. Someone does like the main, the turkey, or maybe your family does ham, my family does ham, or whatever you do, whatever main meat or whatever main dish is there. Someone does it. And then someone will bring the casserole, someone will bring some of the desserts, someone else will bring, you know, if you're like my family, somebody brings the liquor, you know what I mean? And in your mind, ideally, all of that stuff would be made at home. People would take their time with it. Nobody would be under the gun. But as you probably know, Virgo, not everybody gives a damn like you. Not everybody gives a damn like you. Let's be honest. So you're expecting, you know, your cousin says, you know, the cousin who you called and is like, look, I need you to take care of the pies. Can you hook it up? And your cousin's like, oh yeah, I can get some pies. I'll make, they might even say, I'll make some pies. I'll make some pies. And they're like, great. Oh my God, thank you. I love it. Perfect. Christmas Day rolls around. The time to have desserts rolls around. And your cousin is like, oh, I got the pies. Here we go. And they come in with a store-bought pie. And you're like, what the hell? You said you were going to make pie. And they're like, oh, well, did I say that? They're like, oh, I said make. Oh, I meant to say I was going to buy the pie. Or they say, well, I got busy and I just couldn't do it. You know, my kids needed this and I needed to do that at work, so I just didn't have the time, so I had to go to the store and get it. And to them, this is fine, this is perfect. They went to a good bakery, or they went to whatever grocery store that has the best bakery, whatever your family's line of of finances can do for them. And they think it's fine. And just about everybody else at the family gathering says, this is cool. But your vision now is tainted because your cousin brought in the store-bought pie. Now you're like, you bastard. You messed this up. Everybody else is like, this is cool, Virgo. It's fine. But you're like, no. He said, she said that they would make pie. They da. And you might go off on one, or you might be having this internal explosion going on. But that's what I mean. I feel that your vision of what this day looks like, or what some expectation is there is a potential for you to be disappointed because other people will be involved. Therefore, to a certain extent, you might want to lower your expectations or alter the... Didn't I say something over here? Like altering something or recalibrating something here? Relax. It can't all be the way that you envision in your mind. It just can't. If it was, you might, work yourself into a tizzy. You might God, I feel that if you don't let other people in and if you don't let other people help you, you're just going to burn yourself out. In work, in this whole family holiday thing, in a relationship, whatever we're talking about, relax. Let some of that stuff go. It's better that you delegated the desserts to somebody else than, say, the main dish or some of the good side dishes in my family. Like, nobody does the potato salad but my mom. If somebody else does the potato salad, I don't want it. That's just me. So I know that when holidays roll around or there's certain dinners that happen, I want my mom's potato salad. I'm like, Ma, you gonna do the potato salad or what? And sometimes she's like, I don't feel like it. And I'm like, man, I was expecting to go to this damn barbecue and have your potato salad there. Now I gotta rely on cousin so-and-so's potato salad, and hers is just not as good as yours. So I don't even eat it. Am I gonna let that ruin my entire time at the barbecue? No. But best believe I'm a little sad that the potato salad didn't come from my mom. So you might be a little sad that the pies didn't come from your cousin's oven. They didn't have the time, or they didn't give enough. They didn't give a damn enough to make it themselves. But don't let that ruin the entire day, is basically what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? Now, the triplet, I feel, oh God. you're going to make a good show of it. I think I said earlier, I feel like this is like an incoming energy, or like definitely more aligned to what could possibly happen for you in the future, if it's not already unfolding by the time you watch this video. And I'm not, yeah. So there's some stress involved here. 9 of Swords. Stress, stress, stress. And again, it's on this baseline of your expectations, what you envision in your mind, and this power or this influence from the universe coming in and taking some of that responsibility and taking some of those obligations and duties away from you. In between that, you have this card of stress, 9 of Swords. You don't want the great irony with you, Virgo, and I think that's part of, I'm gonna have to brush up on this, but I think you are one of, you and Pisces, might be you and Pisces, but definitely Pisces, and you, I would probably put you in the second place. Martyrdom, 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 martyrdom. Okay, you often, not always, but often put yourself on the line. Put your best interests or your sensibilities on the line, and you don't have to. You don't have to. You shouldn't. In some cases, you damn well shouldn't. In some cases, but you don't have to sacrifice. Sometimes, perhaps you sacrifice too much. Sometimes, and when you do that, it makes you feel this way. It makes you feel really anxious or annoyed, or you feel as if you can't escape people's dependence on you or reliance on you. And sometimes, Virgo, that's true. I will not deny it. Sometimes that is true. People value you so much that they often take what you provide for them as a guarantee, and that's just not. Like, you're a human being too. You're not a damn machine. You know what I mean? But people's expectation of you or understanding of you is like you are this never-ending supply of energy, this never-ending supply of money, this never-ending supply of love and affection, of support, whatever. And it's just like, that's not true. You have a limit. And the trouble with you, Virgo, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, is that you don't express that to people. I am not made of money. I am not without fault. I am not running on, I need to eat. I need to sleep. Sometimes people don't know that about you because you just keep going into the fray. You keep going back and saying, I can take care of it, or, oh, I've already done it. What's the next thing that you need my help with? Or you're off doing all these things by yourself, accomplishing things on your own, and then people are like, oh, you did all that stuff yourself? Okay. And they just become accustomed to you doing it on your own, that they never think to ask, oh, Virgo, do you need help? Virgo, would you like me to help you with that? Or Virgo, do you want to, catch, a movie in your downtime? Like, they never, like I said, I think some of you are workaholics and you are perceived that way. And so people just assume you don't want to go out for drinks. You don't want to go out to the movies. You don't want to have a nice quiet time at home after work. You just want to go straight into your office once you get home and continue to, work on whatever project you're working on. Or maybe you have a huge hobby that takes up your time when you get home. And so your husband or your wife just assumes, oh, you're going to go into your little hobby room and you're going to start doing your scrapbooking, or you're going to start doing, fiddling with your what do you call those? Your miniature sets, like maybe model airplanes or something. And that's just what they assume. They assume that you constantly want to be busy and consumed with your own things. And then you end up feeling like this. You end up feeling like you're kind of on your own island, living your own life, but you're not lonely, but you feel sort of separate or ostracized, or somehow people think you're not the same as them, that you don't have the need to rest. It's a conundrum, because I think, like I said earlier, a lot of you allow that perception of you to persist because you don't slow down. You don't ask people for help. You don't want people to assume that you need them. Even though you're very much willing to be the person that they need, you don't want people to think that you need them. It's weird. And I get that sense here in your bottom row. And how it's going to play out, or how I think it's going to play out for a good portion of you, is during this holiday. Again, you could be celebrating one of the religious holidays, you could be hanging out with friends if you're estranged from family, or it could be, again, just the vibe and the energy that is required of you at work during the holidays. But something about this holiday season and the expectations and the mood and the atmospheres that you're going to be involving yourself in, it's going to be kind of, for a few of you, it's going to be a little hard to get along. It's going to be a little, why am I saying this? Okay. So you've got this 9 of Cups here, partnered with the Queen of Wands. So you have this very blissful scene with the 9 of Cups, this couple opening up presents. She didn't open it yet, so I don't know what's in that box. But you've got this man, he's like, oh, open your gift, honey, da-da-da. And it's Cups energy, so it's very much aligned with the emotions, dealing with water sign energy. So it's very soft, it's very tender, it's very nurturing, it's very much a sympathetic and empathic energy. It's very kind, right? Paired with the Queen of Wands, who can be like that, but in this instance, she's definitely not super compassionate. She's definitely not very sympathetic or empathetic to anybody. She looks annoyed, right? She looks perturbed, And so these two energies could be going on at the same time within you, or they could be observable in whatever moments or circumstances that you find yourself in. So it could be a holiday party where people are out, having drinks in the office, and they're, doing the whole Pollyanna white elephant games, and you're in your office, crunching numbers. You would be the Queen of Wands. Are you guys going to get back to work? And they're like, oh, but we're still doing the present exchange. So come on and join us, Virgo. And you're like, no, we gotta get this done. This thing needs to ship out tonight, and you're just like really about the business. This could be playing out at home with your family. Your family's having a good time opening up presents. Maybe you guys do Christmas breakfast instead of Christmas dinner. And so maybe, your cousins and your nieces and nephews and your grandkids or whoever are out opening presents under the tree. And they're like, Grandma, come in here and see. And you're like, I gotta clean the dishes. I gotta do this. I'll be out there in a minute. And then you go and you do that and you come out and they're already done. Like they're throwing away the wrapping paper. The kids are playing with their toys. And you're like, well, weren't you gonna wait for me? We called you. We said the kids were opening their presents. Well, you could have waited. It's like you're indignant about something. And it's like, but you were invited to relax. You were invited to enjoy yourself, Virgo. You were encouraged to, kick back. But you were resistant to it, perhaps. Or if you do participate, your mind is still thinking about all the dishes in the kitchen that need to get washed. You're thinking about all of the accounts and all of the emails that are in your inbox and how you're going to address this person. And you could be in the middle of, a conversation, and your mind and your intention and attention are elsewhere. So the Queen of Wands normally for me is not as rigid, is not as inflexible. She's usually a very negotiable and compromising energy, but she feels like a taskmaster, and that might be the energy that you're taking on. And I should have said this earlier in the reading, but I'm feeling this is mostly going to apply to most Virgos who are watching this. This could be other people in your life. You could have a Queen of Swords that you're dealing with. You could have a Queen of Wands that you're dealing with, and you're in the 9 of Cups. You could have somebody. This energy can belong to other people, but I feel this is mostly going to be most of you Virgos. You guys are, for lack of a better phrasing, you're working yourselves up into a tizzy, and you don't have to. You really have to relax. You really have to let go of some of your expectations or some of the things that you're envisioning and how you're wanting it to be just so, and you just if it's not perfection, it's damn near perfection. And perfection doesn't mean, you know, we all have different levels of perfection or what perfection looks like. So I'm not trying to say that there's a certain, not hierarchy, but like a certain quality to what you're envisioning. You know, you might be thinking, like, Jay, I don't even want much for Christmas. All I want to do is see my kids together in the same house again. That could be like a low level, that could be like a low level goal or vision, but actually it's perfection. Like, clean this up. Help me clean this up, please. Thank you. Perfection, the way that they're making me envision perfection is, it's not about the quality. It's not about eating on fine china and, you know, having pheasant for your dinner instead of, you know, butterball turkey or something like that. Perfect is not equivocal to fancy. Perfect is equivocal to what you feel is most correct or most beautiful or most balanced is how they're making me feel. Balanced or fair regarding the situation, regarding this time of year, regarding your work situation, regarding your relationships, whatever. So going back to some of you who might be parents and you want to see all of your, you know, you've got adult children and you want to see all your kids together having a good time at the holidays. Like, that's your idea of perfection. But like I said before, if you're talking about anything that deals with other people, your expectations have to be somehow altered or somehow given some wiggle room. Because if you've got children who are adults, and maybe they've got kids themselves, they have their own family to consider. If they live all the way in Maine and you're living in Southern California, or, you know, they live over in Europe and you're here in Toronto or something like that, is it feasible for that family of 5 to hop on a plane and come and visit during Christmas? Your other 2 kids or your other 3 kids, they can come because they live in Maine with you, or they live in Toronto with you, or wherever. They live in the same city. It's more feasible, but your one son, your one daughter hasn't been home for Christmas for like 5 years. It would be perfect if they could come, but their circumstances, the demands on their life might not allow it. And therefore, if that's the case, for whatever reason, they could be in the army or some type of military service. They could not financially afford to come home. They might not have any desire because maybe they're estranged from one of their brothers or sisters. Whatever the reason, if they don't show, if they can't make it for whatever reason, it's okay. It's okay. All right? What's your outcome for December? You have the 7 of Wands. Oh. So I just said all that. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. 7 of Wands is a defensive energy, traditionally, in the Rider-Waite deck. It's usually depicting a guy. He's on a hillside. He's got 1 wand in his hand, and there are 6 wands below him, and he's essentially like fighting them all off. And with this particular presence, or this 7 of Wands showing up for you, I feel it. Like, I just said all this. I spoke to you, what's the time at? An hour or so, right? I've talked to you for a long time. And maybe you've heard some things here that you didn't like. You might be quite resistant to taking on board some of the stuff I've said today. I'm not offended. I don't care. That's your business. You can do that. It's just like you are being hard pressed to relinquish something, to let something go, to let something just be what it's gonna be. You know, some of you might have this idea that all your hard work at your job is going to pay off and you're going to be promoted. Or you're going to be given some type of bonus because it is the holidays. You know, you might work in that type of environment where there are incentive bonuses. And so you've been working like a dog for the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, and you're expecting to hit a certain goal, but you don't hit that goal. Or you do hit the goal, but then what you get as far as what you're rewarded isn't exactly as much or isn't the quality of what you have expected. And so there's this feeling of not disappointment, because the Seven of Wands you're not disappointed. Some of you are just downright angry about it, or you're pissed off about it, or you're frustrated with it. Like, God, I tried. I did the best I could. Why didn't this go in my favor? Or why isn't this panning out the way I thought it would? And you're like frustrated as, see, that would make you upset, Virgo. When you have an equation in your mind, and that's a weird thing because math is not my thing, but here we go. So in your mind, 1 + 1 is 2. And I agree with you, 1 + 1 is 2 in general. But for some reason, you did 1 + 1 =, and you punch that into your calculator, and your calculator says 7. And you're like, what? And you do it again. You go over it again in your head. 1 + 1 is 2. And you're like, I know this. This is not rocket science. 1 + 1 is 2. You hit the button again. 7. What? You hate it. You absolutely hate it when what you plan, what the equation is, what you expect, what you envision does not come out in the wash. I did step 1, step 2, step 3. This is the result I should have. You don't get that result. What the F? What the F? Is kind of what you would be feeling. So I don't think it's a terrible time. Whatever might work out in your favor, or excuse me, what might not work out in your favor, I don't feel it's a loss. I don't feel that it's a total loss. I feel that it could be a disappointment and you could be quite frustrated. I don't think it's going to be a complete wash, that it's absolutely garbage. No, not at all. I do feel, though, you will be upset, ticked off. And again, your reading, in more so than the others that I've done so far, is very time sensitive. I feel that this is very much in the constraints of the holiday season. So within December, maybe a little bit into January, I don't see this situation, this feeling with you, this feeling of frustration, this feeling of pressure and all that kind of stuff. I don't see it extending past January. I really don't. And I rarely talk about time that much in my reading, so for you it's very important. But y'all need to relax. I'm telling you. I mean, I don't know that you want to, but I think you should relax. Overall energy for the month is Judgment. So Judgment traditionally is about taking that big picture, or looking at the big picture, taking a step back and getting the full scope of the situation, looking across the landscape and surveying everything, a further evaluation on what has already transpired specifically. So the traditional Rider-Waite usually depicts a scene that you might attribute to the final judgment, which is calling up the dead from their graves and making judgments on them based on their, allegiance to a higher power and all that good stuff. And there's a similar feeling here where the deed is done. Maybe this is after the dust settles, after Christmas Day, after New Year's, whatever, and you evaluate. I put forth, maybe that's what you need to evaluate, or maybe that's what you will evaluate. You know what? I worked myself into a tizzy. I put forth all this effort. I put up all this money. I had my grandmother sleeping in my bed next to me. I did everything I could do under the sun to make sure that this holiday went off without a hitch. Yet, this person didn't say thank you. That person didn't give me any money for my troubles. This person over here got drunk and smashed my prized possession. Like, you were just... Thank you. You might be encouraged to look in retrospect at what you put in, 1, plus the other portion in your equation. This is what I put in, plus this is what they put in, equals me feeling disappointed. Okay. That evaluation, or excuse me, that equation is not, it didn't come out with the answer I expected. So what do? God, this is like not the best analogy because numbers are not my thing. But if you're expecting 1 plus 1 to equal 2, but 1 plus 1 equals 7 this year for some reason, you go back and you're like, okay, if 7 is what it's going to be, if 7 is, Virgo is mildly irritated by the end of Christmas Day, by the end of the family's visit, by the end of the week working overtime at your job, you're like quite agitated. If that's going to be the result, and you've noticed maybe for the past 2-3 years, that's been the result, but you were thinking this year 1 plus 1 is going to equal 2. No, it's still 7, or it's 7, and last year it was 6. You know, if you're like, okay, fine. If that's what the answer will be, if that's what the equation will show at the end, after we total everything out, after we plug in the numbers, fine. Then I'm going to change my input from a 1 to whatever. So that's kind of what I'm getting. It's like after everything settles down, after there's this calmness and you get back on schedule, for those who are going to have that physical injury or that being, put on bed rest thing, after you're able to get back to work, after you're able to get up out of the bed, your leg is healed, your muscles are no longer sore or torn or whatever, and you're able to get back out there, I think what this overall energy is telling you is, see what happened? Like, all of your effort wasn't wasted, but it's certainly, you didn't need to do that much, is basically what I think it might encourage you to consider. Did you have to do all of that? If you gave 100%, could you have had the same result, or possibly better if you gave 85%? I think a lot of times in different scenarios for different reasons, we're encouraged to give 100%, give 110%, give me 150%, give me 200%. It's like, who the hell has 200%? Like, this is me talking. Like, who, what? 100 is the max. So this whole give me 110%. 100 is the maximum, in my estimation. What are you talking about? But for some people, 110 is like the least that you need to give to make a scenario or a circumstance come out favorably. And I'm just like, no. So you might want to reevaluate that. If you're one of those people who thinks 100%, 110, 120% is like the optimal space to operate in, but the results that you've been getting have been not reflecting or not really taking into account the amount of effort that you're giving, or you might want to say, okay, instead of 110, why don't I bump this down to 90%? Some of you might go really drastic. Oh, I'm giving 75% next time around. And I don't know that would necessarily bear a better result, but try it. Experiment. Try it. See what happens. I feel you regularly give so much of yourself, and your level of participation, your level of commitment, your not enthusiasm, but your output is like maxed a lot, Virgo. You max your output a lot. Don't max it. See what happens. Okay? All right, that's your reading for December, Virgo. Did I not call you Virgo just now? Did I call you something else? If I did, I apologize. But Virgo, that is your December reading. If you liked it, there's a like button down there. If you want to comment, you can leave comments down below. That would be amazing. Also, share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And I will be back in a few weeks' time, when I come and I do your January 2019 readings. Ooh, exciting, right? All right, guys. I thank you so much for watching. Take care.